You've probably heard of this guy. He's been on the news a lot lately. At a meeting with the CEOs of several large car manufacturers, he had this to say.
I am, to a large extent, an environmentalist.
But what does being an environmentalist really mean? Not saying that Trump isn't an environmentalist, but I'm not saying that Trump is an environmentalist either. I wanted to find out, so I went to the library to see what the dictionary had to say. A person who is concerned with or advocates the protection of the environment. Okay, the dictionary says one thing, but what do real people have to say? So we went around asking people what they thought. What does it mean to be an environmentalist?
It means someone who appreciates nature and our connection with the natural world and working to protect and appreciate and natural spaces and our connection with the natural world.
I think it means engaging with the barriers to maintaining a healthy environment, which includes healthy forests, healthy waterways, grasslands, all the natural habitat.
Somebody has knowledge of his surroundings, could be intimate, like really down on a cellular level how things happen, or it could be macro level, looking at garbage or that shouldn't be in places that should be clean, or plastics in our streams that go into the lakes, go into the oceans.
I think to be an environmentalist, you need to care about the natural world and to be conscious about what you're choosing to consume and how you consume it, and to put love and energy into the natural world around you.
Do you consider yourself an environmentalist?
I would say I do, because I care about the environment. Oh no, this is not good.
Yeah, that's good. That's
okay, well, see, now I screwed up the show.
And she walks to work.
I do walk.
That's
I
good for the
I should have
environment.
said that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I try to be. We recycle. Being in a library, that's the whole point of books. You recycle the books to other people. So I think we try to do our part as best we can.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. But most people today might say the same thing. Some people do things like recycle pop cans, but maybe the question that some people should ask if they really consider themselves environmentalists is pop a sustainable thing for us to be drinking? Should we be drinking it at all?
I do consider myself an environmentalist.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do consider myself an environmentalist.
Yes, I think I'm an environmentalist, but I could be a better environmentalist.
Why are you an environmentalist?
When I grew up, not very many people were environmentalists. The only ones that I heard about were the people who chained themselves to trees in British Columbia to prevent massive old-growth logging, or they went in rubber boats between whaling ships and the whales to prevent the whaling. And I wasn't particularly interested in doing either of those things. I did support them, but today it's become kind of different. Now that global warming is considered a fact by most people, and not something to believe in, but something that is proven by scientific fact, many people would consider themselves environmentalists, because we know that we have to protect the earth from us, from our destroying it.
What are you doing to help the environment?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I was 18, I started a conservation club in my university. When I was 22, I went to work for the State Department of Environmental Protection. When I was 24, I banned DDT, chlorine, endrin, heptachlor, and a bunch of other compounds that I call collectively trichloro bad stuff. And then when I was 30, I moved to Canada.
On a sort of a simple day-to-day basis, we compost. I use a clothesline. I don't have a clothes dryer. I try to shop in a way that reduces waste, and I shop quite a bit at the thrift shop, so that's recycled, reused clothing, and sort of minimizes shopping and consumerism. And in a larger sense, I support organizations that are about environmentalism and that are working to lobby the government to make wise choices for our country and for the earth.
In my life, we spoke a moment ago about the 3 R's, and I reduce, and I reuse, and I recycle. I make very little garbage. I managed to get all my plastic bags to a recycle place, so no plastic goes in my garbage. That's a small thing. I eat organic food. I have an organic garden, and I try to drive very little. In fact, I walked here today because I could, and it was a nice day. But even if it was a bad day, I probably would have walked. I think that's a kind of environmental attitude, because that's what we're talking about, attitudes. I support systems of government that respect the earth, and that's why I've been on the left of the political spectrum most of my life. I'm for renewable energy, and thus I don't support the fossil energy industry. And it's not always possible to be an environmentalist when your local or your national governments do things to make it difficult. So part of my efforts go into supporting organizations that lobby them, like, well, there's Greenpeace, there's the Sierra Club of Canada, there's a group in British Columbia that's trying to protect the old forests from pipelines called Raven. And there's quite a number of small organizations that I support financially. So those are ways that we can help both I help both my local community, my home, my community, and make an effort around the country and hopefully the world.
Do you think Trudeau is an environmentalist?
I think that Justin Trudeau I think he would like to be an environmentalist, and I think that, again, government could be making better choices. There are hard choices that need to be made, and it's not going to be easy. And to make the kinds of decisions or changes that I think that are necessary, it means that you're likely jeopardizing being elected again in the future. And I think that's a hard choice for people who are in politics to make.
Yes, I do.
I think that his actions so far have not been those of an environmentalist. He hasn't proven himself to be an environmentalist.
Yes, I do think Trudeau is an environmentalist. It's really quite clear from many things he said and many things he's attempting to do. An equally interesting question is, do I think Trudeau will be able to be an environmentalist in what he accomplishes? And that's another question. he may not be allowed to be an environmentalist by the powers that be. We shall have to see how it works out. You know, a good example is the way he pushed through the pipelines recently. So leaves some environmentalists scratching their heads. On the other hand, you could say that, well, we need new pipelines because the other ones will break down. I don't know. I would just like to see us get away from using fossil fuels. I don't like the tar sand developments. People call them oil sands to be politically correct, but I don't like that development either. I wish that as a country we had other options. I would encourage him to explore more renewable energy options.
Do you think Trump is an environmentalist?
No, I do not think Trump is an environmentalist.
I don't think Donald Trump is an environmentalist. Again, he has not proven it. His actions are not those of an environmentalist.
No, I do not think he is an environmentalist.
Oh my goodness, Donald Trump, environmentalist, in the same sentence. Well, as we know, Donald specializes in untruths and, as he calls them, alternative facts. Donald Trump is one of the most dangerous things that's happened to the environment, to people, to peace and democracy in the recent history of the world.
No, I don't think that Mr. Trump is an environmentalist, and I think that I probably don't even have to explain why I think he's not an environmentalist, because it's pretty clear. He would put profits ahead of everything else and his own self-interest, or the interests of, he would put the interests of a small group of people ahead of the interests of the planet and of most people. He's a predator upon the planet.
Environmentalism is something that can mean many things. It's also an attitude. It's more than all those small and important things that we can do every day. It's a recognition that we are all part of an interconnected web of life. And if we recognize this, and if we respect this, then I think we're on our way to becoming true environmentalists. How's my mustache? How's my hair?
Okay.